2. Right, that should work now. There you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. And today, well, it could be a great weekend for Arsenal fans. Because Spurs, as we're watching here right now, are losing 2-1 at home to Villa, which this is probably Villa's best result away from home, I think. If they get this, they've been famed for doing very, very well at home at Villa this season, but not very well away from home. But this performance has been very, very good. I was very worried. I was actually out earlier this afternoon when this game kicked off, and I was watching the first half, and like, man, the Spurs were all over Villa, and it looked like Villa were going to get beat 4-5. But they just seem to have. They've just not been. Actually, you know what? It's not that their play's not been necessarily bad. Their interplay's been really good and really incisive. They've just not taken the chances, or they've been caught offside. I think Son scored 3 goals from an offside position. So it's crazy that that's happened as it has. But it is now it is 2-1 to Villa. But they've been more clinical at Villa. Simple as. I think they've just got more players who can finish chances easier. Although Dave, I think was it, I can't remember if it was Davies. I know Davies was at fault for the headed goal for Villa. Don't know what that is. So people have been falling over. It's a foul for Spurs. There's 3 minutes left of injury time, and then we're going to talk about the Man United game, the Everton Man United game. This has been quite a good game to watch. That I'm a bit disappointed I wasn't able to do a watch along for this game because it's been a good technical game to watch. You can tell that both of these teams are going to be up in that kind of top 6 area, I think, this season. They've both got a lot of quality about them. There's a Villa player down in the box here. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Diego Carlos is holding his head. Doesn't know what's going on. But, yeah, Spurs looking for an equaliser. At this point, as an Arsenal fan, I'm happy whatever happens here because I can't see Spurs scoring twice. And if they score once, they both draw. They're both further away from Arsenal, which is brilliant. That's a lovely free kick put in. It's been headed out for a corner, I think. Yep. There's all hands to the pump for Villa now. They need to defend this lead. Another corner. It's flicked. Oh, and it's just gone past the far post. Gone past the far post, and Son got a touch, I think. I don't know what happens here. So he gets the touch. It's definitely a Spurs. Oh, I thought it would be a goal kick. I thought it was a Spurs player who got a touch there, but it isn't. Kulusevski's got the corner on the other side now. And it's straight. There's a few corners today. Oh, dear. Martinez is... No, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's just... he's fallen a bit awkwardly, and then he's got... the pain. How do I waste time? Oh, that's how. Yes. I'm gonna roll around and scream and shout. Oh dear. Well, we all love Martinez. I think he's actually played really well tonight as well. Today played very, very well for Villa. He wasn't really at fault for the Spurs goal. To be honest, he was very unlucky. Oh dear, what's he done here? Just hit it straight back to Martinez in the end. It's not too bad. Yeah, there was a deflected shot for Spurs. Is that going? Where's that going? That handball. Oh no, it's hit the goalkeeper. It's hit the referee, so the ref gets the drop ball. Yeah, so it was a deflected shot. Has that just gone out of play? Oh no, he's going to take his time. Good play. Tell you what, Bailey's done really well since he's come on. Watkins has played well all game, really. Who else came on? Tielemans came on, has played pretty well. Although he definitely prefers that kind of slow passing style, which I still don't think is really what Emery is after in his team. But hey ho, it's. I think watching Tielemans, I can kind of understand why Arsenal didn't go for him. It's just a shank shot wide. It's a bit of a waste that from Bailey. But yeah, they've been really good, Villa. Been very, very good. I've been very impressed. It's probably their best, as I say, their best performance away from home. Ooh, what's he done here? He's just given the ball away. It was that, yeah, Emerson Royale, I think possibly playing at centre back here. Spurs' defensive issues are pretty apparent. Like the second goal that they concede to Watkins is soft. It's a lovely finish from Watkins, don't get me wrong, but the amount of times, so I think Watkins gives it to Tielemans gives it back to Watkins, and Watkins scores. Both of them are really are in loads of space. Neither of them have anyone close to them, and I think if they had proper, there we go, full time, 2-1 to Spurs. Really, really, sorry, 2-1 to Villa. Really well played. Spurs lose again. They've lost 3 games in a row, which is not good. And I mean, if we look at the table, I think we've got the table up here already. So Arsenal are obviously top, Man City second, Liverpool third, Villa are up to fourth now with a win here, and Spurs slipped down to fifth. And if Man United are to win, if Man United win later, this afternoon, they will go up to 24 points, which is only 2 behind Spurs. So it's not inconceivable that this team could potentially be it's not inconceivable that Spurs could be caught by the likes of Man United, but I don't. I mean, Brighton maybe, but I do feel like Newcastle as well. So yeah, I think Newcastle are definitely a consideration for top 4 this season. Man United have to be because of just the sheer quality and their willingness to grind out results in games that they have no right of getting results in. And yeah, they're just very, very good. Very, very good. Very good team, I think. Um, and going down, obviously Brighton as well, potentially, but I just don't think their team's quite there. I think they've lost one too many players um, to other teams, and they've not. I think they've bought. Whoops, not what I meant to do. I don't think they've bought quite as well as they should have done. Realistically, I think that they've not really made use of the money they brought in. Um, they've got a couple of. Oh, no, to be fair as well, this summer has been quite a big summer of change. They've lost. Trying to think. Well, it's not so much who they've lost, but they've got like Pedro, is very new, and Ferguson, who isn't necessarily new, but he's breaking into the team. He's not that great. So, well, he's not at the moment that great. He scored a great goal yesterday, but I think he's still got a long way to go. I just noticed that my table is actually. That's not. It's not correct. Oh well, never mind. Who cares about that near the bottom? So yeah, let's have a look at the lineups though. This is the lineups for today's game. So we've got Pickford in goal for the home team. Tarkovsky, Young, Mikalenko, and Branthwaite. Is Mikalenko a centre back? I thought he was a midfielder. And then McNeil, Harrison, Gay, and Garner, with Calvert-Lewin and Decore up front. It's an interesting team. When we read out the Man United team, you might see why I might be thinking that this could be quite a rigorous game. It might not be a particularly good watch because I don't know. There's a couple of players in that Man United team that do excite me to watch, but I don't think I'm as excited as I probably should be by this Everton team. Looking at this Everton team, then we've got we've seen that already. So for Man United, it's a 4-4-2 for Everton as well, 4-4-1-1 even, with Calvert-Lewin probably pushing beyond Decore. Onana in goal for United. Then we've got Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Dalot, and Shaw. So Lindelof and Maguire, man. I don't know how they've managed to so-called upgrade from Varane to Maguire, but there you go. There does seem to be a considerable problem with Maguire not being able to be replaced. Um, yeah, I can't believe that we're a year on from watching Man United play with Maguire in the team, and they just didn't have any. Yeah, they weren't watching Maguire in the team last season and making so many mistakes. Oh no, actually no, it's not last season. Sorry, 2 years ago, watching Maguire in the team making so many mistakes against Liverpool, against Man City, against so many times in the big games, and then this season he somehow managed to find his way back into the team when I don't think he's really that he's not good enough as a centre back. You're playing in a team that wants to press the play. They want to be aggressive with the press, leave lots of space in behind, and they're not going to be able to do that with a player like Maguire and Lindelof at the back. Especially, I don't think Lindelof either. Although Lindelof has played well at times, but Maguire, every time I watch him, and I'll watch it tonight. If he plays well, I'll say it, but I guarantee you he will have 2 or 3 moments today in this game, which will be they will look clumsy and or dangerous. When I say dangerous, I mean not in terms of physically dangerous to other opponents, but more dangerous in terms of losing the ball. On the ball, Maguire is not. He's not cultured at all. He couldn't. He's one of these players that could not play in any other position but centre back. I just don't think he could. So why Man United in this? When you look at other teams like Arsenal, Arsenal have got players at centre back who could both play with the ball. They're both very, very adept with the ball. Gabriel probably less so than Saliba. And then you've got Man City, you've got Ake, you've got Stones, Diaz, Akanji. They're all brilliant on the ball. Liverpool have got Van Dijk, they've got Matip. There was another one, I've forgotten his name. Kanate. I don't know if Kanate, I think Kanate still plays for Liverpool. They've got a lot of very, very good players on the ball. Even Spurs, you looked at Van der Ven, he was very good on the ball. And who's the guy who got sent off? Forgotten his name. The player, I think he's Argentinian. Um, but he's yeah. It was a very what's the word? Yeah, it's pretty clear to me, I think, that United last season did a lot better defensively just because of their ability to keep clean sheets with a defense that was not even Lindelof, it was Martinez, who they've missed badly this year, and Varane. And I did always think when they bought Varane a couple of years ago, I was like, man, this isn't going to last. Varane's pretty old. He's got a lot of miles in him, and he's not old age-wise for a centre-back. But I think if you're older and you play in a style that Varane has for so many years, he makes a lot. He moves a lot around. He moves around the pitch a lot more than a Maguire is actually a good example. Maguire doesn't really need to move around a lot because his team's going to sit back and defend. This Varane issue, I think, is partially born from the fact that he's old and United want to get rid of him so they can bring in a new young player who's, well, not young, but young enough that there's considerable resale value, but also there's progression there. If they keep Varane, yes, he's probably been one of the best centre backs in the last 10 years, but is he necessarily good enough to play? No, that's not true. Of course, he's good enough to play right now. That's not the question. But will he be in 2 or 3 years' time? And I think that's where a lot of squad building has gone to now. When you look at, again, if I use my club Arsenal as an example, um, they are able to. They've been planning their squad for ages now, for about 2 or 3 years. And Gabriel came in like 3 years ago. Saliba has been in part of Arsenal for years, but he's only been in the squad for the last year and a bit. But we've sent him out on loan for 2 years before that. There was a clear planning when it came to centre backs. We also had players like Kivior, obviously holding for a bit, but I think he was more of a straggler from the previous squads, and he was there for the team mentality, but I don't think he was necessarily a good enough centre back to play for the team. And then I've forgotten who the other one was. Sure, we've got a third. Oh, yeah, then we've got other players who can play at fullback, but they can also play at centre back, which is part of the squad planning. So you've got Tomiyasu who can play centre back. You've got who else? Obviously, Timber was brought in this season, and he would have been able to play centre back and right back and left back. So there's a lot of planning there in terms of the positioning. But would it have necessarily, if Man United, let's say Man United adopted the same principles and tried to sign the similar kind of adjustable players, um, would they have been in a better position now? Absolutely, definitely. The problem is they've not signed a new centre back. They didn't sign the new centre back in the summer. And I think if they had done, they probably would have forced Maguire out because Maguire would have gone. Yes, they might have lost. They might have got a bit less money for Maguire, but I think Maguire would have made the decision. Okay, right, I'm not even fifth choice now. I'm sixth choice, and I suppose you could say that Johnny Evans is the one they brought in. Nah, I think Maguire would have thought he was ahead of Johnny Evans in the pecking order. They needed to bring someone in who was going to challenge for the spots with Varane and Martinez. And if they did that, Man United, I think, would be in a much better position now because obviously they've lost those two. And now they're having to play catch up, having lost those two and probably not going to be losing. I don't think they'll win them back again. At least not Varane. I think Varane's gone. I think by January he'll probably be gone to Saudi Arabia, which it might end up being good for United because that'll be a lot of money they'll get for him if it comes from there. But if he goes to there, but then yeah, I'm not sure. I find it difficult to understand um, some of these issues United are in because I feel like a lot of them are kind of self. Uh, they're very self. What's the word I'm looking for? They are they're like self-imposed. A lot of these issues they should not be. They should. And I think it's probably indicative of a team and a club that's managed so poorly at every level. And it seems to be more of a club that's managed to get the most out of their um, financial assets and their marketing than it is to get the most out of their sporting assets, which is a shame, really, because I think if you look at some of the biggest clubs in the world, the most successful clubs in the world, they do actually make a lot more money than Man United. Well, that's because of their sporting success. It's not as much to do um, with their marketing success. Really, their marketing success comes from the sporting. Real Madrid is a great example, where they've won the Champions League for so many years. I think now that bubble has definitely burst, but they're a fantastic club, and they've got great pedigree behind them. Barcelona are still kind of living a bit off of previous years, but they're doing all right to an extent, although they're having to pull a few levers to get into there. Was that Ten Hag with a flat cap? Interesting. Has he ever won a flat cap before on TV? I don't know. That's very interesting. Is that a Dutch thing? Obviously, I'm aware of where flat caps are usually worn in Yorkshire, and that's not necessarily. Sorry, that's me opening a Pepsi bottle. So I do need to drink some stuff. I've had a headache since I woke up this morning, and I think it's kind of going, but I'm just feeling a little bit under the weather today, which isn't good news because I've still obviously got a week of work ahead, and I've got two streams to be doing this week. We're watching Newcastle in Paris to play PSG, which could be the game that seals their fate in going out of the Champions League, or could be the game that gives them another chance to stay in the Champions League. And then we've got Arsenal at home to Lens, who are a pretty good team. Lens, so they won 3-0 at the weekend, albeit in the French league, which is a bit people call it a farmers league. I definitely agree. I think in a certain sense, there's a lot of games that you would expect the top teams to go and win even away from home. You compare the two games. I think the team that Lons played this weekend weren't that. I think they're like mid to lower end of the table. Brentford aren't too far away from that, the Premier League, but the nature of the two games is very, very different. Lons thrashed them 3-0 and could have been won by more. Arsenal won 1-0, and I think to say that they could have won by more would definitely be stretching it. I think they deserve to win, but it was more through judgment than through just absolute domination. I think is a better way of saying it. Just being careful not to let the Brentford. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk a bit about the Brentford game because obviously we didn't get to do the watch along last night. It would have been, I mean, given how I acted when I was watching the game, it would have been an interesting watch along for you guys to see because I was not happy with some of the play that was happening, some of the decisions that were made going forward by players. I thought some of the play was really, really good, and we were actually testing. I didn't like some of the commentary I heard where they were saying, "Oh, Arsenal not playing it quick enough." I thought, actually, they are because they're not. They're giving it to the one player, and he's only taking one touch and moving on to the next, and then one touch to the next. But the thing is, they're not actually making progress up the field. That's probably more what they're saying, and be more direct. And in the second half, they did change their tune a bit. They became a bit more direct. And then when Havertz comes on, you know that's what's going to happen. They're probably going to go and just sling balls in the box and hope for the best, which isn't actually what happened, to be fair. Oh, that's a nice drink. So yeah, I think they could have absolutely. They could have potentially won by more, but we could have also conceded a couple of goals as well, which were all of our own making. But I think it's a difficult place to go. It's a very difficult place to go, Brentford. I think last season's 3-0 win at Brentford was uh, affected by a couple of situations where they they were, oh, what was it? I think the Queen died around that time, and the who else? What happened? It was also like what was it like this is like a Sunday midday kickoff or something. It was a couple of very strange things that came together to make this situation, which just wasn't very intimidating for Arsenal to play in, and they ended up winning 3-0, and it was a pretty straightforward game. Yesterday's game was a lot more intimidating. There was a lot of situations which caused Arsenal more problems than they normally would have. Aaron Ramsdale being one of them. I think poor guy is just under so much pressure. I don't think he's I don't think he's at it. I don't, and I actually I almost prefer him to leave at this point because I just don't think he deserves to be treated at Arsenal like he is. Albeit he's a great backup goalkeeper, but I mean, if you're getting pelters for every game that you play, and then you put extra pressure to play the ball out of the back, which is hard enough at the best of times, but if they're at that point not able to play out from the back at all, and that's what happened in the second half. Ramsdale was either told or decided to just play the ball long every time, and in the end, I think it actually worked quite well. I think that worked quite well because they were they were much more physically imposing in the second half. Arsenal, I think we were able to throw the ball long and win a couple of headers. Jesus played really well in that role. Obviously, Havertz did the same as well. It's good. Good to get the win, obviously, but I think for Ramsdale, he needs to move on, man. He needs to move on. I think. Or if he wants to fight for his position, fine, but he's got to prepare to be sat on the sidelines for a long time. And also, don't, as much as his like family are welcome to their opinion, I don't think them sharing their opinion is helping the matter at all because all it's doing is driving a wedge between him and the fan base, and or rather maybe attracting the fan base to his side and causing more problems for the club because the club clearly want Raya to play. So surely, when you've got fans chanting "You're a bleep David Raya," like what is the point? I think you've got to cut your losses. And Arsenal could probably get about 30 to 35 million for Ramsdale this January if they wanted to. Whether they want that or not, I don't know, because I think it will be difficult to find another goalkeeper. Think about the situation that we were in last season. We played, who was it now? We had Ramsdale in goal, first choice, and then our backup was the American goalkeeper whose name I've forgotten. But he was clearly not as confident on the ball. And if we're going to have a second goalkeeper, we need to have a player who's good on the ball. And there's not. The problem is those players are often the best goalkeepers in their teams, and they're often good enough to be goalkeepers at the top level teams, first choice goalkeepers. So I don't know what the problem from a Ramsdale point of view. Obviously, he would probably want to move. I think from an Arsenal point of view, they'll want him to stay. At some point, something's got to give, and usually in those situations, if a player wants to move, they usually get their move. Especially if they're a goalkeeper. I think it's different if you're an outfield player because it doesn't take much for an outfield player to play. Like the rotation's definitely a thing, whereas goalkeepers don't get rotated. Goalkeepers generally keep their place, and unless they're prepared to give Ramsdale games in the Champions League, which at this point, unless we beat Lens and finish the winners of the group, but with one game to go, I don't see Ramsdale playing a game in the Champions League unless Raya gets injured, because it seems like Arteta wants to get this team sorted. Let me just check that they've got. Yeah, we've got the right game on the screen there. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Ramsdale Raya situation. I think to be fair to him, I think we should draw a line under it and say, hey, he made a couple of mistakes, but we kept a clean sheet. And as a team, that's brilliant. I think the fact that people are zeroing in on the mistakes that he made kind of shows where they're at, where a lot of people are at with their thoughts on Ramsdale and thinking, okay, he's probably not good enough to play for this Arsenal team. But then Reyes made a couple of mistakes as well. Would he have made the same mistakes? I would not. I don't think he would have made the handling mistake. That was a weird one. I've never seen Ramsdale do that before. I think that's just a player under pressure. But the one where he gets the ball to his feet and it's a close call. Oh no, he gets caught on the ball and ends up losing it. I think Raya probably doesn't get caught there, if I'm honest. And I wasn't surprised when I saw that happen live. I was like, oh gosh, okay, right, we probably lost a goal here. And then Rice bails him out and gets the save. But that's the game of risk and reward that you play when you play out from the back, because you want the press to come to you so you've got the space to play in behind. And it did work a few times in that game. And if it had ended up being a game like the Southampton game last season, where at home where we not Southampton, who was it now? Was it last season or the year before? I think it was the year before against Southampton, where we attracted the press and then we played out from it and scored a brilliant goal on the counter attack. It's like a counter attack, but it wasn't, because we'd actually built up from the back. So it was really, really good football. But that all happened because we had a goalkeeper who was confident to play the ball out from the back, and Ramsdale at the moment isn't confident enough to do that. So in that case, do you risk him in a big game in the Champions League? No. And I kind of understand why Arteta would not want to do that. If he thinks that Ramsdale isn't good enough to do that, fair enough. Having said that, he also responded really well in the second half. He made a couple of really good passes. It was just solid throughout. I think the team around him gave him the authority to be able to play a bit more expressively, and gave him the authority to make the decision to say, we're just going to play it long, not going to try and play it short. So yeah, it's a big win for Arsenal. It puts them top of the table, which is why I'm wearing the Arsenal shirt today. Well, happy with that. It's a bit nippy in here, which is why I'm wearing the jumper. So unfortunately, I'm covering the Arsenal crest. But it's a good day to be an Arsenal fan today. We've got Wolves at home, obviously after the Lens game in midweek. It could be a very, very good week for Arsenal if we get those 2 wins. That sets us up very nicely. And if you look at the fixtures going forward, I think apart from Villa, we haven't really got a massively challenging game until Liverpool just before Christmas. So in theory, if we keep winning games between now and Christmas, we could be in a really good position come the turn of the new year. And it's fair to say, you could almost say that maybe it's difficult to see Arsenal losing a game or even dropping any points between now and Christmas, possibly. Although I do think Liverpool at Anfield is traditionally a difficult game, and because it's just before Christmas, that will be very, very difficult. I don't know. I think we'll see. So there we go then. It's Man United away at Everton. I've seen Erik ten Hag is in the stands for getting 3 yellow cards. So there you go. I'm not expecting, just before we start the stream, I'm not expecting a particularly good game. Just to be clear. Yeah. This is not going to be it's not going to be a fantastic game. I'm expecting, unless Man United come out and really play some good football. Why has Rashford got ginger hair? Where has that come from? Guy's got too much free time on him. I'm expecting quite a dull game because I don't think Man United are clinical enough going forward to be able to make incisive plays through Everton's deep line defence, and I don't think that Everton are sharp enough on the counter-attack to take advantage of chances. And Everton will be going out here to get a point. Don't think that they're trying to win the game. Or I think everyone always tries to win the game, but I don't think that's going to be their thoughts from the outset of this game. Here's Rashford on the right-hand side. It's played into Fernandes and McTominay. McTominay driving into the box. That's not a penalty. He's just fallen over there. I think the player did try to make a motion towards him, but that'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see Kobe Mino. I've never watched Kobe Mino live before. I'm really interested to see how he plays because I've heard a lot about him and a lot of people have been raving about this guy. He's a centre defensive mid. Of course, my washing is done now. Typical. Just as the game starts. He's a defensive mid and he's kind of playing in the Fred position alongside McTominay. But McTominay is he looks like he's being a bit more aggressive in where he pushes up to as like a right-sided 8 rather than a deep-lying 6. Here's a chance for United. That's Garnacho. Oh my word, what a goal! Garnacho with an absolutely amazing overhead kick. That was insane. That is one of the best goals of the season. I think that's the goal of the season so far. That was unbelievable. I think it's Dalot who gets the ball on the right-hand side. He clips it across to the opposite end of the penalty area, and Garnacho's waiting. You're thinking, okay, he's going to control it. He's going to take a shot. Nope, he's going to leap in the air like a salmon and then hook it into the top corner of the net with his left foot. That is an amazing goal. Wow. What a start for Manchester United. That was something. He's doing this. He understands how good that goal was. That was amazing. So Rashford gets the ball on the right-hand side here. There's an underlap here from, I think it's Dalot. And it's his right foot, I think. I don't even know. Overhead kicks are very difficult to tell with what they're doing. But it's like the Rooney one, but probably better because it's further away and it's on the angle. What a shot this is. That's amazing. Oh my days. Pickford's like, what are we playing against here? That's just perfect. You don't get much better than that. You're asking for it to go right in the postage stamp for it to be better than that. That's amazing. Alejandro Garnacho, take a bow, mate. That was a fantastic. I don't think he'll ever score a better goal in his career. Wow. That was something to witness. That was amazing. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, obviously, I don't particularly want Man United to do well, but I think at this point, if they manage to catch up with Arsenal, they've done really, really well. But that, goodness me, I think you know what, and you can't even blame Everton really for that. There wasn't really any bad defending. There's nothing that any of them could have done. Maybe they could have tracking the Dalot run. is the only thing that could potentially have done better, because Dalot gets a free run in between the centre back and the defender and the left back. He gets a free run there, and he gets to clip the ball over the edge. I think it's Dalot. I actually can't see him on the pitch right now. Maybe it's just out of shot. Oh, it's because he's there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Delot's playing in like an inverted fullback position. So he's the one who makes the run, who sets up, who eventually makes the cross for Garnacho. What a goal! What a goal! I'm still reeling from that, man. I've never seen. I've always thought, I think Garnacho's always been an exciting player, but he's never necessarily had the final product consistently. I think he sometimes has it. I remember a game last season where I think Garnacho was playing and Man United needed a goal at the end of the game. I think he scores with like seconds left of the game. Here's Mino in the middle of the box. He's played it through. Garnacho's he's feeling it though. He's feeling it now. that's as good a confidence boost as you could ever have in a game, I think. An overhead kick from that position. That's an amazing goal. That Everton must be so shell-shocked. What could they possibly have been thinking? Unbelievable. It's 1-0, and what's happened here is Maguire's. Yeah, that's just overzealous defending from Maguire there. I think not a massive fan of that one. Let's see if we can find some stats here. I'll just change that a little bit. There we go. So yeah, there you go. Man United have had most of the possession, as expected. And this Everton team, as much as they've been impressive in recent games, they've had a couple of wins. And I kind of jokingly said that they'd won a few games since they've found out about this points deduction. And I think the ref's given a goal kick here because Harrison's not very happy. Yeah, since they found out about the points deduction, all of a sudden they've I don't know if that is a goal kick. I think Miney might have got a touch on that. But yeah, they've got since having that points deduction, they've suddenly won a few games, and it's like, oh right, okay, I feel like that's a bit of extra motivation. That's a ball into the box for the Curry, but Maguire does deal with it. One strength you've got to say of Maguire when the ball is slung into the box like that, Maguire is just very, very good at heading the ball out, being in the right position to head the ball out. Well, maybe not being in the right position, but he's definitely when the ball's there to be won, he can win it. There's no question. I don't think his positioning is always that good, and sometimes it's not that great. But yeah, here's Everton. He's playing on the right-hand side, and they just about get that, but in the end, it's a free kick to United. Not so sure about that one, but there you go. But yeah, it's a big, a big difficult. Yeah, this goal again, man. So it's Dalot on the right corner of the penalty area, deep next to the byline, clips it back, and the ball's going behind Garnacho. The only way he scores is by doing that. And like, I mean, he clearly does do that sometimes. He must do that in practice, surely, because you don't attempt that kind of thing without practicing it. But wow, yeah, even Ten Hag's a bit like, gosh, what a goal! What a goal! And I don't know whether, I mean, it's so early in the game, you can't necessarily say one team deserves it over the other. I think obviously they deserve to be winning off of that effort, because I think that's just like a guarantee. If you talk about XG, it's not necessarily an expected goal, but the fact that he scored it, you definitely deserve to be winning. And Everton have got it all to do now. Having said that, historically, over the last few years, well, here's Everton. They could be on the right-hand side here. Calvert-Lewin chops back, takes the shot. That's an easy save for Onana. should be straightforward. There was a concern that Onana would be injured from the international break. I think it's Delo who plays him on the opposite flank there. I had a couple of balls on there, a couple of crosses available there to him. Didn't take it. But yeah, I think Everton have got a very tough job trying to get back into this game. Yeah, trying to get back into this game. Don't think they've necessarily. I think it's going to be difficult for Everton unless that Man United overcommit. Then that's absolutely fine. I think they should be fine. Right, I just need to quickly respond to a text that I've had. Right. Here's Garnacho playing the ball out here. It's a nice little interplay. Bruno Fernandes plays the ball into the box and it's well cleared. And Idrissa Gueye brings it out. That should be the lows, yeah. And this is the thing, I think, if Man United could control this game, attacking and then prevent the counter-attacks, then you're sorted. I think you're absolutely sorted. But it's a difficult one to know what to do for Everton, really, because their game plan would have been seal out, absolutely seal out the Man United team, stop them from scoring goals. They have looked quite blunt, I think, going forward, Man United this season. They've not really looked that great. And there's a lot of games where you'd think, especially at home, where they'd be putting away teams like Nottingham Forest, Wolves, etc., and they've almost been dominated. They've been the second best team, and yet they've carried on and gone on to win. It's a lovely ball over to Rashford on the right hand side. Interesting to note as well, they played Rashford on the right. Not something that you see very often, but he's got a. Oh, no, I see. Yeah, that wasn't a great cross in the end. I think it might be a corner, to be fair, but it's not a position you see Rashford in very often. Most of the time, you see Rashford playing off that left-hand side and cutting in, and I wonder whether there's necessarily been a. No, I see. I don't think that's a corner. If they've got a corner out of that, I think he's very fortunate. He's very fortunate if he gets a corner out of that. There's definitely been a conversation that's gone on and said, "Listen, you're not playing well on the left. Play on the right. Do something different. Be a more of a creative influence." And he's gone for another long shot. Oof. Gone over the bar. Luke Shaw coming back as well into this Man United team does make a difference. I think them playing without Luke Shaw has really kind of hindered their build-up play a lot of the time because he is quite important. Having Luke Shaw and Martinez on that left hand, I think it was Martinez on the left. Yeah, Martinez on the left-hand side meant that they were so good. They knew each other's game really, really well. And then obviously Rashford, what would happen is Luke Shaw would sometimes go on the outside, Rashford go on the inside, but then sometimes Rashford would occupy the wide position and Luke Shaw would cut inside into an inverted position. And that interchangeability was very good for United last season. I think it was part of the reason why Rashford ended up scoring against Arsenal at the Emirates, because he cuts inside, does a trick on Partey, and then smashes that shot near post. That's a ball which Maguire will head out. And if this is all Everton are going to offer, is just like balls into the box, they're not going to do anything any cuter than that. I feel like Maguire's going to be quite happy. And this is the thing about this Everton team, is they don't have a lot of pace to trouble Maguire with, or movement for that matter. And now that Everton are 1-0 down, what do? Do you leave it and just carry on playing the way you play? or do you throw on a couple of players who could potentially threaten them in behind? They definitely can't open up just yet because I think they'd probably be thrown. They'd be mauled. I think. As much as I said, this Man United team haven't been very good going forward. They've been very blunt. I think a lot of that is down to how teams have played them, and they've noticed that Man United can't really break down a deep defence. But if a team goes at them, then they can definitely struggle. Man City can attest to that from last season, at least, not from this season, but definitely from last season, where Man United came at City and actually did pretty well. So, yeah, Delo just about keeping the ball here. Mainu's been pretty steady, pretty standard. Nothing too clever. Hasn't really needed to be fair. Not really noticed Fernandez too much in the game. He's been involved in a bit of link-up play, but it's not been that great. One thing I have noticed is Maguire, every time he's had the ball, he's done well in terms of his yeah. So he's not trying to kind of do that awkward right-footed dribble around. Yeah. He's not that good at that. But they're building up with like a three defenders and then two kind of defensive midfielders. I don't know where that's gone. Oh, that's a nice little touch there, but that's given away. Everton have the ball back again. Still got a bit to learn, I think, Man United, in terms of building up from the back with these players. So I don't think they know necessarily how to do it with Maguire and Lindelof in the team. I think they knew really well how to do it with Varane and Martinez, but there's a few. I think there's a few technical issues that they need to work out with the other two. Still 1-0 to Man United here. Interesting, of course, that Spurs losing earlier, means that Man United at the moment will be cutting the gap between them and Spurs in fifth to only 2 points. I think it is 2 points. Let's just quickly check that. They've got what are they on now? Where's the table? Here we go. So if we just quickly look at the table, you've got Spurs on 26 and Man United on 24 now. So, and this I think is more. Oh, it's not quite the last game because there's another game tomorrow night. But apart from the goal, this is kind of what I was expecting to happen. It's not the most rip-roaring of games, but I think I was expecting Everton to put up more of a resistance in this game. It's a shame that, well, not a shame. I think the goal was amazing, but it has somewhat kind of put all the onus on Everton to go and put pressure on this Man United team. Having said that, I think I mentioned this earlier, there is a history of Man United going ahead against Everton. It's like, gone out for a corner. Gone out for a throw at least. Yeah. And Anna just letting it run a little bit too much there. He's another one that's not looked particularly confident playing the ball out from the back. Even though he's seen as this kind of maverick goalkeeper who just comes like a million yards out of his box to play the ball out from the back, I don't think he hasn't got the. And this is the thing, right? If you're playing out from the back, you're not always going to be able to play the short pass. Sometimes you have to play the long pass, and sometimes that long pass has to go in behind. Onana can't reach that. He can't, as far as I know, he can't play that ball over the top of the defence. I might, if someone knows that or has seen it and can prove me wrong, fine. But I think that's the thing that sets players like Edison and Allison apart from pretty much anyone else, is that their kicks are they can be really long and set up counter attacks just by themselves. And I think without that, it's difficult to play out from the back efficiently as a goalkeeper if you don't have that threat in your locker. It's a nice bit of play from Everton here. This is the kind of cute play I was talking about, but that cross is clipped straight out of play for a goal kick. What's that? Someone dropped something on the pitch. Delo's just got rid of it. It's not it's nice play from them, and in the end, it's not a good cross, which is why it doesn't come to anything. But if they can keep that triangle play going in the right hand side, I think they could potentially get somewhere. What's this now? Oh, okay. What's happening? I was offside. Okay. Just gonna check what the yeah, it was quite. And I suppose one of the big talking points from the Premier League in terms of Everton recently is this points deduction, which I think is it's a big deal. Obviously, it's the biggest points deduction ever given out in the Premier League. And my only kind of experience of points deductions, it's not even experience really, but I've seen a video of it where Arsenal and Man United would dock points for an on pitch fight, I suppose is the best way of putting it, where almost all the players were involved, and they're both charged with misconduct, and both clubs were, I think, fined and docked. I think Arsenal were docked 2 points, and Man United were docked 1 point. Arsenal ended up going on to win the league that year, and I think a lot of the talk during that season was that they were going to try and win those points back, and it became a bit of a motivation for that Arsenal team to go on and win the league. I think for this Everton team, they could use the 10-point deduction as a motivation for them to go on and do really, really well this season. Albeit bar this game, I don't think this game is an example of where they're going to be. But I do think that Everton can. I think Everton can't complain about the points deduction because it's clearly stated in the rules that there's anything from fines all the way up to automatic relegation for a club can be done. I don't think we'll ever see anyone be relegated for FFP in the Premier League. I don't think anyone will be done that because it would. They've got to think about the long-term implications of that for the club, and the club would be ruined. I think if they were automatically relegated, or if they were given a points deduction so much that they would be guaranteed relegation that season no matter what they did, that probably would be fine. But they've got to think about like gate receipts, and they've got to be able to still play the games. They can't just throw a club out of business. But they can say at the end of the season, no matter what happens, you will be in League One or whatever. I don't think we'll ever see that because I think the other thing is, I think if one club were charged with that, I think a lot of other clubs would have their back. They'd kind of get their back up about it, and they'd probably go against it. I think because the insinuation that a lot of other clubs, which I'll go through in a second, could potentially be insinuated to be involved in similar allegations. And they'll see if one club gets such and such a punishment, they could get the same thing, and they don't want to risk that. So it's very the problem with the Premier League is it's very much Turkey's running, to kind of combine two different analogies. It's Turkey's running the asylum. The turkeys won't vote for Christmas, but they're also lunatics, so they'll just get on with anything. That's a terrible foul that is by the Man United players. Like, who was it? Was it McTominay? I don't know. It wasn't clever though. It'd be a free kick to Everton on the right side of the box. Yeah, it was McTominay. It was just a bit of a rushed challenge. And yeah, so it's like Turkey's voting for Christmas and the inmates running the asylum because they really shouldn't be in a position. And I don't agree with, you know what happens there? Ghana actually takes out his own play. He takes out Ashley Young, and they get a free kick. If they end up getting a goal from this, can you imagine? Can you imagine the uproar? Oh my days. Oh my, unless I've misread that, but that very much looked like Anana just took, not Anana, Idrissa Gueye took out Ashley Young. Oh dear. Well, anyway, so here's the free kick for Everton. Then they're gonna play it probably deep to the far. No, they're gonna go near post. That was shocking. There's a chance to take the shot though. That it's gone wide. But yeah, it's like the turkeys voting for Christmas and the inmates running the asylum, which honestly they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Yes, they agreed these rules a while back, but I think someone else needs to come in and be a bit more authoritative. Now, the problem obviously with that is that there's the questions about if the Premier League clubs are told what to do and don't have any say in it, do they just leave and make their own Super League where they do have the power to change things? I would say, well, if they're doing that, then they're ruining football, because football and most sports, all sports really, should have an input, yes, from the players or the clubs involved or the teams involved, but those clubs and teams and players should not have the final say in the rules, because there will inevitably be bias in that, and there needs to be some kind of independent influence on those decisions, or an independent authority on those decisions. And I thought, why? How is the assistant manager Mitchell van der Gag? He looks very similar to Ten Hag. It's a bit scary. Um, yeah. So if you've got all of the members voting for the rules, but you don't have an independent influence, I think that's a problem. And when it comes to financial fair play, I agree with it. I think it does stop the ability of clubs to have this like huge investment arrive, kind of Chelsea, Man City like, and now Newcastle like as well, and also and kind of do what Chelsea did back in 2005. Which, but remember, what Chelsea did is the motivation for this for the FFP. It wasn't really thought of until Roman Abramovich came in and bought tons of players, and all of a sudden Chelsea went from a team that were challenging for the Champions League but not quite making it to, although I think they did make it the year before, to actually making it to champions 2 years later. And given how big the gap was back then, we're not talking about these days where a team can finish fourth and then go and win the league the next year. This year, and that was Arsenal I was referring to there. They almost did win the league last season, having finished fifth the year before. I think this year, these days, it's very feasible that could happen, because the gap in quality between the top team and, say, 10th isn't actually that big. It's quite small. Oh, Garnacho could be in on the left-hand side here. Garnacho still going at the defender, ends up getting smuggled back to the goalkeeper. And yeah, I think if I think back then in the early 2000s, if you wanted to overhaul teams like Arsenal and Man United, you had to have some serious clout behind you, and you had to make some really good recruitment. And then, yes, Chelsea did make good recruitment. They made you, obviously you've got to hit with your signings, but they wouldn't have made those signings without the money that they had. And if you'd have put that Chelsea situation now, the amount of overspending would have been ridiculous. Like their income outside of football was nothing, almost not nothing, but like they were in a lot of debt. They were in a lot of trouble before Roman Abramovich came. I think Decore's just got booked here for mouthing off at the referee. It's why is Tarkovsky talking to him now? Is he the captain? He hasn't got a captain's armband on. What happens here? Okay, so yeah, McTominay gets the free kick. Garnacho kicks the ball away. No one's He's not booking Garnacho. Oh, I see what the problem was there. Okay, yeah, so Doucouré has a go at him because he doesn't book Garnacho for kicking the ball away. You know what? I actually have sympathy with that. Doucouré should not have been booked. Or maybe no, that's not true. Doucouré should have been booked, but also Garnacho should have been booked as well. That's the rules. Stupid. Don't know if Garnacho's already on a booking. Don't think he is. That's a elbow in the back there from the Everton player, but they get away with it. Here's Harrison, and he gets the ball. Harrison's an example of a signing I just do not understand from an Everton point of view. He was okay at Leeds, but he wasn't amazing. I don't think he fits. It doesn't really produce. It doesn't. He doesn't push Everton any further forward in terms of their development. I think Garner does a better job than he does, and Harrison does in that position. I like players like Doucouré and oh, that's a chance, and the header is on target, but it's well saved. That was a corner there, then straight onto the head of Calvert-Lewin, and he headed it too well. If he heads that just a bit to the right or the left of Onana, he scores. No question. Onana going long again. Yeah, so with all of that in mind, then we bring it to the other clubs who are actually already under investigation. Two very different situations. We've got Man City, who we know were charged midway through last season. I think it was like February time last season for several infringements on spending because of miscalculation and misrepresentation of their financial. Oh, it's a great save, and it's not gone. It's cleared off the line. My days, how has that not gone in? Everton should be 1-1. And in the end, it is cleared by Man United. That was a really good chance. That Calvert-Lewin had a really good chance to score. Another good couple of saves from Onana. Now here's, oh dear, that was poor from Idrissa Gueye there. Yeah, so you've got the Man City situation, which they've had those charges. A lot of them, over 100. I can't remember the name. Yeah, so what happens here? Calvert-Lewin, he kind of fumbles the header, but then it ends up falling to him. He pokes the ball to Onana's left. Onana saves it. Then it comes back to the Everton player who shoots again. Onana saves it again, and it goes past him, and it's cleared off the line by Mainu. Given that Man United they've not really dominated, but I'm surprised. I don't know where this pressure has come from Everton, but they seem to be a lot more brave on the ball. Here's McNeil on the left. That's a lovely ball. Oh my days, how have you missed that? That's a brilliant pass in to Doucouré, and he's just kind of poked his foot at it, and it's gone well wide in the end. Shocking finish from Doucouré. That was a really good chance. This will give Everton a lot of hope. To be honest, I think that's a foul on the Man United player as well. It's not a good finish. He notices that. I think Lindelof does a really good job of spreading himself here as well, because he notices that Lindelof's there. So Doucouré has to almost shape it around him, but I think he notices so late that he can't adjust. So he's a bit unlucky there. So that's the Man City situation. They kind of changed things, or they're alleged to have changed things in their financial records to suggest that they only got a certain amount of money from. They got a lot more money from sponsorship than they from outside sponsorship that wasn't linked to the Etihad to Abu Dhabi. Turns out it was linked to them, but they just didn't say that. And there's a bunch of other things, and also their failure to what is that ball from? Oh dear me, they've just given that away there, and it's gone straight to McNeil, who takes the shot, but it's another clearance. This is very, very ropey play from Man United, given how good they've been. What? Okay, I'm all for good defending, but you wouldn't be in that position if you didn't just hook the ball up in the air, Delo. Shocking. Anyway, and then the Chelsea one, they actually self-reported that the new owner self-reported Chelsea, and their And here's the corner for Everton. Again, that's a deep one. And in the end, Ashley Young plays it out. That's a lovely ball, that. Going to go in, but it's blocked out for a throw. Yeah, and they self-reported it. But it sounds like Chelsea's the accusations against Chelsea are almost not bigger than Man City, but they're not far off, and that's a concern for Chelsea. But I think there is a big difference between the two in that Chelsea have self-reported it. It's now it's the Premier League to decide what they charge, and Chelsea will probably accept whatever it is the Premier League charge them with. But I don't know. Well, we know that Man City are refuting every charge against them, which, I mean, I don't know how you get 100 and something charges. That's a ball into Calvert-Lewin. He's not quite won it there, but Maguire's going to play this back to the keeper. Should be fairly straightforward. Yeah. And yeah, honestly, I don't know. Both of those two, given the Everton position that they've taken a 10-point penalty, and it's not really for that much. It's for like 20 million overspend, I think, or thereabouts, 15 million. It's not that much compared to what we're looking at for Man City, and for Chelsea. If those two are considered to be breaches, and if those breaches are as big as are reported, that is a problem for both teams, because I don't think, as I said before, it's turkeys voting for Christmas. But what has he done? What has Pickford done there? He's just booted it really quickly, and he's given the ball straight back to Man United. They didn't have a chance to reset the game. That's ridiculous. Well, they're giving away a free kick now. Yeah, I think if there is a threat of anyone being relegated, I think the rest of the Premier League would be up in arms, and they probably wouldn't allow it. But having said that, there's no precedent for any of this. Now, that's the problem. It's very difficult to know exactly what the Premier League will do, because they've already done a 10-point deduction on Everton. And if you think a 10-point deduction for Everton, so surely that means, oh, here's Mainu running towards the box. He just kind of gets the ball. Oh, nice 1-2 with Rashford. He's now in behind, and that's in the end just about cleared by Everton. That'll just be out of play in the end. Yep. If they take that and apply that to Chelsea and Man City and say, minimum you're getting a 10-point deduction, but because of what you've done, it's a lot worse than Everton, you'll probably have a lot worse happen to you. I think that, firstly, there have been cases where UEFA and UEFA have tried to nail Man City with potential breaches of financial fair play themselves, and they've not been able to nail them for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that reason is, but one would assume there's some kind of legal things they've managed to do which has helped them avoid any punishment. And I think that's where the UEFA financial fair play laws have actually kind of punished the clubs outside of the elite more than they've punished clubs outside the elite more than they have the clubs inside the elite, such as Manchester City. I'm very disappointed at that, to be fair. Yeah. So that's, and I think if the Premier League are going to show to have any teeth and show that they can regulate themselves, which there's been a threat recently by the UK government that they won't be able to, that the UK government will set in place an independent regulator. That's a long ball by Pickford. I think that's going to go out for a corner. Oh, that could have been a corner. Was it a goal kick? It was a goal kick in the end. Yeah, it's Fulham Wolves tomorrow. Who's going to watch that game, man? That's that's not a great game, that. And then Forest Everton at 5 p.m. next week. No one's watching that one either. And then West Ham Palace Super Sunday. Not another good game. Some of these games are shocking, man. And then obviously, I think it's the Spurs City game next Sunday as well. That's going to be quite good, I would expect. Potential, of course, for Arsenal to go 4 points clear at the top, I think. Don't know when Liverpool's game is. There's Calvert-Lewin running at the box. Just has a shot, but it's deflected. Comes back out to Decore. Now Idrissa Gueye on to Garner. Now it's on the right-hand side. Ashley Young puts the cross in. There's Calvert-Lewin with a free header, and he balloons it over the bar. I'll tell you what, if Everton keep this to 1-0, they are in this game because they're making chances. And they're being more threatening than Man United are right now. Because United don't have that aerial ability in the box. And like, it's one thing I've heard a lot of people talk about with Man United, that their strikers don't really tend to play very well. And Martial has done basically nothing this game. And Calvert-Lewin's kind of outshot him considerably, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. Rashford looks a bit disinterested there. I don't know why he's... Oh, Calvert-Lewin again. Running at the defence. And now he's just skied that. Absolutely skied that. And I've got 20% battery on my phone, which is not good. I think at half time I might have to go and grab my charger. Let's try. Nope, that's not working. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to go and grab my charger at half time. That's fine. This is a nice bit of play again from Calvert-Lewin. He pokes it inside. Eventually it comes to Idrissa Gueye and he just skies it. It's not a good finish. Not a good finish at all. There you go. Here's the ball out to Rashford on the right-hand side. He does look... I'm concerned about Rashford because he's not really been that effective in this game. And even off the ball, like sometimes when you're not playing well on the ball, you want to be able to do the work off the ball to make up for that. This is why a player like Heung-min Son at Tottenham has so many admirers, because even when he's not playing well, you can guarantee he will give you all the work he can off the ball. He'll run at players day in, day out. He did it like today. I think it was the 93rd or 94th minute that against Villa. He ran at the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper played it around him and played it to centre back. He then ran back at the centre back again to put pressure on, and the centre back had to run away from him. Like it was a good example of a player who is just so committed to the hard work. Here's Dello. It's a nice cross. It's going to go all the way out to Martial. And that's gone out for it's offside. Never mind. Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I can't remember what I was talking about before that. Oh yeah, so and I think for players like Rashford, yes, he can be good in flashes, but I think in a game like this, you need to work hard. And this is why at Arsenal as well, I think if you look at our whole front line, they all work hard. Saka always tracks back. Martinelli always tracks back. Jesus is just running everywhere when the other team have the ball. It is such a difficult ask to do that for any player. Well, is it a difficult ask? I think it's a difficult ask at the top level because you usually are just running around just to put pressure on, but 90% of the time you don't get the ball. So from a motivation point of view, it's tough. But do you... yeah, I don't know. I don't think it looks good when you're a player who's as talented as Rashford is, and you have the chance to go and win the ball, and the ball's right there, and you don't even try, which is what I saw. It's not great. Not great at all. Yeah, there's Mikalenko. I knew that Mikalenko wasn't a centre back, but he was listed as a centre back in the team. It was very strange. Got about a minute left till the end of the first half. Man United will be happy to come out of this 1-0 because apart from the ridiculous Garnacho goal, they've not had that many chances. Oh, they've almost given the ball away again here. Got to be careful not to foul him. They're going to try and kick it out, and it has just gone out for a throw. Fernandez did all right there, I think. He's one player. I don't think you can. I think you can complain about his complaining and his kind of petulance on the field, but you can't complain about his work ethic. He's very, very good with that. That's one by yeah, I think it's Garnacho. Yeah. Board's about to come out for the injury time. It's going to be. Oh, I don't even know what that is. 2 minutes. Okay. Can't really see the board on the or the details of the number on the board on the TV. Maguire playing it back to the goalkeeper. Clipping it long. But again, it's easily headed back. There's no real attempt here, I don't think, from Man United to be able to play forward here. They just want to try and keep the ball. Well, that's a terrible challenge, that, from McTominay. Oh, no, Garnacho. Yeah. I'd be annoyed if I was he clips it over him. It's not as bad as Ashley Young is saying. I do think that Ashley Young is one of these players you've got to be very careful with as a referee because he can look like a player who's been absolutely poleaxed. And actually all that's happened is just kind of brushed with a fingertip. It's a long ball. It's gone all the way to McNeil on the other side. 3 Man United players around that player in the box. Calvert-Lewin heads it up. It's back, and that should be cleared by Man United that time. Yep. Gosh, clears it well long. Straight to Pickford, who doesn't play it out. That was nice. Another chance to get it in the box, and it's gone all the way out to... No, it hasn't. It's gone nowhere. That was shocking that time. I don't know what that was. What's Daesh talking about now? Oh, it's a late challenge from Fernandez on Harrison. But again, it's not that much. I suppose looking at it in slow motion doesn't really help, but it doesn't look like he makes a lot of contact. Well, there you go. Almost half-time. And it is half-time. There you go. Half-time. It is 1-0 to Man United. Garnacho with probably the goal of the season so far, I think. That'll definitely be remembered. He has this knack of scoring odd goals away from home for Man United, and it's sometimes the reason why they go on and win games. And for now, United are winning. Having said that, Everton have had a lot of chances in that last 15 minutes or so, and they should be very encouraged by that. Right, I've been talking for about an hour and a bit in a row, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'll be back with you for the start of the second half. When I've found the right slide. Here we go. Hello and welcome back to Total Football Live. And at the moment, we're watching Everton against Manchester United, and it's 1-0 thanks to one goal, one amazing goal from Garnacho. The overhead kick is winning the game for them at the moment. It's not necessarily a game that's that pleasing to the eye, but the last 15 minutes did show a few chances for Everton. Um, as we are watching, we're probably a couple of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes away from the second half, um, and I think it's fair to say Man United could probably play better. But I've been saying that about them a lot this season, and they've still pulled out wins, so it's not terrible. I think the game against this is a game. Obviously, I think a lot of people generally find Everton away to be difficult. So if they get the win here, you get the win, you get the result, you move on. I think in a lot of away games these days in the Premier League, you just get the win, you move on. Doesn't really matter how well you play or how well you don't play. Um, but I do think it matters that Everton at least produce a performance in the second half, because I think they've done okay in the first half, but I think they've almost showed United a bit too much respect and not really gone at United as much. There's a criticism I've had of Everton for quite a long time, to be fair, um, with the way that they play. For some reason, they're very they're very reserved, very deep, defensive, and then relying on kind of moments to go and score goals. Something that actually Man United have been accused of in the past. But I think the reason why this Everton team don't they don't always get results they maybe should do is because of their defensive tendencies. If you look at a lot of the other teams, actually probably almost all of the teams that are up at the top of the table, barring possibly Arsenal. I think Arsenal are the only team at the moment who are maybe a bit more defensive, but they keep the ball so well that it doesn't really matter what kind of direction they adopt. Um, this Man United team are probably the only team out of that top kind of eight or so who play with a particularly defensive style, and I think that's more just out of necessity because they don't have the players at the back to enable them to play going forward. But this Everton team, man, they're so they're so negative to play against. Um, and I kind of wish, given the athleticism that they've got in the team, they can play not necessarily a high press, but I think they could work harder off the ball than they currently do, and really kind of press high, and then almost have like a mid block. Whereas in the moment they seem to, in every game these days, they tend to just, but they're happy to sit into the low block so quickly. Um, yeah, which was very, very weird. One thing I did see actually today, and I was watching the Tottenham Villa game, there was a bit of defending that kept happening when Son got the ball on the break. I think it was Diego Carlos, who every time Son got the ball, Diego Carlos would, instead of running to track Son and try and track his pace, it was like he gave up on the run. He gave up on the race straight away and just ran back to a place in the penalty area to stop Son from getting past him. Now, I thought this was very interesting because it's not usually the kind of thing that people would do when they're chasing a runner that's going in behind. It's the kind of thing that they would, I think, yeah, I think they would just kind of chase the runner, basically, wouldn't they? Surely. Um, this guy, in the end, it did work because Son didn't do anything, but I think it was offering Son all sorts of space, which I'm very surprised he didn't take advantage of. And if it was against a winger like Son, I wouldn't give him that amount of space because I think he just runs away from you. So, but it worked in the end, I suppose. So it's not that bad. Pickford launching it forward again. We'll just watch bearing in mind what I just said about the Everton forward line. Obviously, it's a bit. I don't think today's game can necessarily be used in that context because the game state has been permanently changed by that Garnacho goal. It's, I think from the start of the game, you saw that Everton were happy to sit back, but then Garnacho scores within a few minutes, and that changes everything. I think if this game were 0-0, Everton would probably be sitting back and defending it for a point and trying to hit United on the counter, which is fine. And they do have some athleticism for that. Not amazing amounts, but enough. And, well, I don't know whether they're necessarily... Oh dear, that's given away there. United on the counter. That's a terrible challenge on Fernandes. McTominay takes the shot well over. Yeah, I don't think... yeah, I'm not sure how that'll work. What was that? Sorry, I was distracted by a text. This is the thing with doing a Sunday night stream, is that you get a lot of people who will just text you, not from the stream, thankfully, but from real life. Because I'm pretty much going out straight after this. So, yeah. So basically, the game state has changed, and what I'm talking about with the defensive mindset of Everton is more from previous games. And sometimes they're forced into it. Like, I think against Arsenal, teams are now left with pretty much no option other than to play a very defensive style, because Arsenal, if they don't, will exploit. And to be fair, the only time that hasn't happened, I can't think of another time it hasn't happened other than Spurs. And when Spurs played Arsenal at the Emirates, they were... Obviously, that we drew 2-2, but that was more because of a mistake on our part. We did get ourselves to a position to win the game, and then we just gave the ball away and conceded a goal straight away, which we shouldn't have done. Not to say that we definitely would have won the game, but I think you give us a chance to defend the lead, we probably would have done so. I think this this Arsenal team has forced teams to have to defend with two very deep blocks of four and doubling up on our wingers. Nice header from Ashley Young there. And if that's the case, which it has been, you wouldn't necessarily blame a team like Everton. When Arsenal played Everton, Everton definitely played with a very, very low block. And it was up to Arsenal to try and get past that. And then if they did, can they then defend from there and take the 1-0? Which is often why Arsenal have ended up winning a lot of games 1-0 this season, is because that's been the situation that's played out. So it's been about... Yeah, they've been winning 1-0 and then maybe 2-1 or something like that, 1-0, and then hold out because they know that the other team will be very direct in attacking them towards the end of the game. So, yeah. That might end up being what happens here for United, unless they can score another goal. Of course, if they score another one, I think this is probably game over, because I can't see Everton scoring twice, let alone once. I think once I'm on the fence about. Twice, I don't believe that they can do that. They don't have... I think the problem isn't so much Calvert-Lewin. I think they've finally got Calvert-Lewin back, and he, I think, can finish Shell. What is that header? That was shocking. Ends up going back to Pickford in the end. If they can give... I think if they can give him service, I think he can score a lot of goals. But the problem is they haven't given him the service. Nice ball out from Pickford. To be fair, Pickford's actually played pretty well. That's nice from Calvert-Lewin. He's held that ball up really well against Lindelof. And it's gone out to Decore. He's got a runner in, I think it's Mikalenko, who's been stopped by Maguire, but not really a foul. He doesn't go down, which doesn't help. But McTominay goes round him, and Maguire now has easy possession. He's now running forward like a centre forward. Yeah, he's not going to get the ball there. And it's been given away. And now there's a chance there, but Lindelof heads it away. This is what Everton do need to do, is to play very direct. It's a nice ball into Martial. He takes absolute age, but then Fernandez back to Martial. That could be a penalty, that. No, he's given a dive. Now, this is very interesting because obviously VAR will have a look at this. And if there is any contact, I think he gets a penalty. And I find it very difficult to believe that the nature of his fall is enough to... Yeah, that's a... Oof. You know what? There's contact. And I think the motion of the player... Oh, it's so tight, man. I think there is contact, but there's not enough for him to go down like that. Tell you what, this kind of reminds me a bit of the Havertz thing. I think that angle definitely makes it look like it's a penalty, don't you? I think it's a penalty, you know. I don't know whether he necessarily kicks... The thing is that angle makes it look like he kicks the player. He kicks Ashley Young. But the thing is, Ashley Young's put his foot in that position. So I think at that point, surely you give the penalty because Ashley Young is impeding Martial by moving his foot into that position. The next thing they're looking at is offside, I think, because... Well, there won't be offside, will there? No. It's inside the box. I think this is a penalty. I think this is going to be a penalty to Man United. It's not a good tackle from... I think it's been beaten all ends up, and the referee has made a mare. He's... And this is the thing, right? So... I was talking about this before. Yeah, he's telling people stay away. Fair enough. But, mate, you've caused this problem because you should have given a penalty to start with. I think, and this is the thing, if referees get things right on the field, you don't get this farce of, oh, I don't like giving a penalty at Everton against Everton because I know that it will probably end up being, I know it'll probably be, I know I'll be shouted at and everything like that if I give a penalty against Everton at Goodison Park. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give a dive and a yellow card the other way. So yeah, and that is the kind of the cowardly refereeing that I was talking about before with the offsides. So there's no yellow card against Martial, and he's going to go a penalty to Man United. Yeah, there should be a yellow card for Ashley Young now, I'd assume. And it is let's just get this straight. I completely agree with the decision that it's a yellow card and a penalty to Man United. I agree with that. Definitely shouldn't be a red, I don't think, because he's not last man. Is it a goal scoring opportunity? I'm not sure. Yeah, Dyche is livid, but I think it is a penalty because the key thing, it doesn't matter whether Martial ends up kicking him. It's the fact that Ashley Young has put his foot out towards Martial in the process of him. He's put his foot out whilst Martial is, and you can't do that unless you win the ball because that is making a challenge. So it is a penalty, but referees need to stop erring on the side of caution when they make these decisions. If you think it's a penalty, you give a penalty. And I think he's chickened out there and said, nope, I'm not going to give a penalty here. I'm just going to give a yellow card. It's like players running in on goal, scoring a goal. Referees not flagging because they think, it's not offside, and then waiting for VAR to make the decision because they know they don't need to. Here's Rashford with a penalty, easy, 2-0, and that's probably game over, I would guess. Well played, Man United. And to be fair, that kind of whole build-up play was the best bit of build-up play that they've done pretty much since the goal, I think. But I think it was helped a bit by the fact that Everton, and there's a lot of Everton players complaining. Sean Dyche is complaining. You've got nothing to complain about, mate. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Penalty's very good from Rashford. He just stutters and then places it above Pickford into the top left-hand corner. Easy, easy goal. Not even corner, really. It's kind of middle of the goal. But yeah, he plays it into Martial, and yes, it might. Some people will argue that Martial moves his foot towards, but I think he moves his foot. There's an angle there that shows he's moving his left foot in a way, in a normal pattern. It's a normal stride pattern. He's not moving his foot away to kick the ball. To kick Ashley Young. He's trying to get through in a stride pattern, and Ashley Young sticks his foot out to stop that stride pattern and essentially trip him. And by tripping him, he stops him from going through and winning the ball and scoring. The fact that Ashley Young doesn't get booked, I think, is actually a bit of a surprise. His Idrissa Gueye with a shot. What a save from Onana. That was amazing. That could have been a hit back straight away for Everton. Instant response almost. Not a good ball out from McTominay, or Garnacho, sorry. And it's a great shot and a brilliant save. I think Goodison Park is somewhat fired up by that decision against them, but I think the main thing to take away there is that, again, it's a referee who's taking a decision which is a lot more... it's just cowardly. It's just cowardly. There's like, no, I'm not going to give a penalty. I'm going to give a yellow card against the away team. When I think in his heart of hearts, if you'd have asked him on the field, he would have said, no, it probably was a penalty, because he makes the decision, and then he can see from where I think he can see from where he is that there's contact made, and it's just about who initiates that contact, whether it's Martial or whether it's Ashley Young. That was not a good ball, that from Rashford. That was terrible. Here is Pickford. He's come a long way out of his box and he's just given it away. Goodness me. England's #1, apparently. No, I'm being a bit mean there. He's played all right, to be fair, today. He's the 2 goals, neither of them are his fault. His distribution's been pretty good, apart from that. Can't really say anything else. I think he's pretty, yeah. And his team are going to lose, I think, because of a worldie and a well-won penalty. I think there's... And Everton themselves haven't been clinical enough. And we watched Aston Villa earlier today beat Spurs because they've been more clinical with their chances than Spurs have. And I think it's probably up until a certain point in that game, Spurs had way more chances than Villa did. But Spurs are not winning the game because they score theirs. That makes makes obviously a really big difference if you score your goals. Obviously. Goals win you games. Luke Shaw's played pretty well as well. I'm talking as if it's the end of the game. There's still half an hour left. Still half an hour left, guys, but I just cannot see how Everton get back into this. Unless Man United completely capitulate. That's not a good ball, that. They would have to I think it would take something like a red card and a penalty or something to turn this around. But, yeah. Here's Harrison just playing the ball about in the corner. Now Ashley Young back in exactly the same position, gets the cross in. It's just headed over. That's scuffed wide. Is that a corner or a goal kick? Looks like a goal kick. Yeah. Mikalenko. There's just a lot of... I think in this Everton team, there is a real lack of quality. And I think the only reason that they're actually in, even like before the 10-point deduction, they would have probably been thinking, okay, we're pretty safe here on 14 points. Now they're on 4 points with that deduction. They'd be thinking, well, we're all right. The only reason they're all right... I said, what is that from Pickford? Okay, right, I take it back. He's been awful. He's not happy with someone. I don't know who. But he's just kicked in out of play. Not even like long ball either. He was trying to do a short pass and he kicked it out of play. Dear, 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 dear me. And I think this Everton team they're not that good. Really, the only reason they're not probably not going to get relegated this season is because there are three worse teams than them, and that's the three promoted teams. And possibly Bournemouth, although they've actually had a pretty good run recently. That's nice. Everton get the knockdown there. Harrison going on the inside. That ball wasn't good enough. Now they could be done on the counter here. Rashford. 62 minutes gone. Maguire's going up for the corner. Can you imagine if offside as the corner comes in here, and that's headed out there. Fernandez gets it back. Fernandez lofts it in. That's a nice ball, but it's headed away by Calvert-Lewin. Back out to Fernandez again. Is he going to try again? Or is he just going to pass it out? He does. Passes it pretty well there to Mainu. Got to be careful here. That's well played. Mainu just gets past one and then two Everton defenders. It's another ball in the box, but it's cleared. It's a very calculated play this from Man United because they're just throwing balls in the box and they always win the second ball, which helps. That's a good tackle from Mikalenko, but it will be. Was that Mikalenko? Yeah, it was. Yeah, Mikalenko clears out for another corner. They're just throwing balls in the box and they're winning the second ball outside because they're not throwing loads of players in the box to win the ball, which is a kind of a weird way of winning, keeping possession. Whether it necessarily works just comes down to whether you win those 50-50s, and they do. I had a string there of winning a lot of those. That was a good header out that from Everton. But again, Man United keep possession. That's a lovely chip into Fernandez on the right hand side. Another chance for United. What's he going to do? It's been blocked again. Garner. I think the referee's having a go at the not the referee. Yeah. I don't know why Pickford is having a go at the linesman there because he was onside. Yeah. He's saying to the linesman, why are you not flagging him offside? He was onside, so that's why. Pretty clearly onside. Another ball on the inside. Oh my days, this is so easy. Garnacho, oh dear, it's too easy, man. It's too easy. This is just remember while you're watching this, remember who we're watching here. We're watching Man United, who haven't really scored that many goals this season, absolutely terrorise now an Everton defence, an Everton team who aren't usually that bad at defending. Well, no, actually, that's not true. No, Everton are shocking defensively. I suppose I'm talking as an Arsenal fan because historically we've had a really bad time against Everton. Like the last few years, we've just not at home, away from home, we've always struggled. So to watch this game is a little bit annoying. Oh, here we go. Chance here. The breakdowns happens. That's a nice ball. Harrison. Oh my days, how has he not scored? How has Calvert-Lewin not scored there? That must be because it just arrives at him in the midriff or something, and he doesn't get a decent enough contact. Harrison gets it to him. Ah, it's behind him. That's why. It's behind him. What a shame. It actually comes off Maguire in the end. That's why it just loops up to Anana and he catches it. If Harrison gets that ball right, he scores. He just had to drill it a bit closer to the goal. Well, I don't know what that was all about. What was that? Was that Rashford? He's just kind of toying about with the ball and then loses it straight away. He's looked really, apart from a couple of times in this game where he's had the ball and he's dribbled pretty aggressively, apart from that, he's looked very lackadaisical today. I don't know whether that's been a consistent thing for United. But if I were watching that, I'd be annoyed that my players lost the ball there. I'd be very annoyed. Like, if that were Martinelli for Arsenal, I'd be livid. But that's what I like about a lot of the Arsenal wingers, especially, is that they'll get the ball and they almost never lose it. Sometimes they'll take the odd risk, but in trying to take the risk, they'll lose it. But at least they're taking a risk. They're not just messing about with the ball. Which is what Rashford was doing there. But yeah, this is a Man United team who are not. I don't know why the camera's focusing on the ref there. He's not done anything. Well, apart from what I was saying earlier about the cowardly nature of the decision that he's taken to book Martial rather than give the penalty. Apart from that, I think eventually they did get to the right decision, which is fine. I think you just got to remember who this is that we're watching here. Man United are not a prolific goal-scoring team, and they look a really, really good team at the moment against this Everton team who are shocking. And I think now, losing this game, you'd have said in the past, losing to Man United is no bad thing, because they're back in like 20 years ago, they were one of the best teams in the country. But these days, they're not. They're dogged. Here's a nice ball in the box. That's headed out. Is that another corner? Yep, here's a corner. Lindelof heads it out again. They are strong defensively, Man United, but that's not the question here. I think the fact that United have got a strong defence and then Everton have got a weak defence is probably what's actually decided this game to an extent, because United aren't amazing going forward. What are all these blue paper? Oh, Premier League. Okay, right. They've made posters as calling the Premier League corrupt. Just oh dear me, what's he done there, Onana? He's kind of punched it up in the air and then caught it himself. What was that? I don't understand this idea that people are saying the Premier League's corrupt. Done not yet, anyway. Give it a sec. Give it a few months or years till we find out the results of the Man City and Chelsea investigations. Because if we find that that in the end they haven't, or they come to a decision that they haven't done anything, or if they have done things and they've proven that they've done things and they still don't punish them, then you can start making those accusations. But at the moment, you, Everton, are the only people. Oh, there's a chance for Decore. Well blocked again by Delo this time. If you're the only club to have made that infringement, you've got to take whatever punishment's coming your way. And it'll be up to the league to decide that. I suppose as I was talking about before, my issue with the whole situation is that there isn't an independent body as such. It's just the Premier League. And the Premier League is made up of the clubs, the 20 clubs. So it's like the 20 clubs have decided that one of the clubs has to be punished for not following the laws of the 20 clubs. And there's a chairman of the Premier League and all that kind of thing, and they can be seen as being independent, but they're not really. They're only there because the clubs have voted them in there. So I think there needs to be some kind of higher authority controlling this. Here's Gay. He's gone back to Mikalenko. Please don't take a shot from there. Okay. That's... Oh, dear. And now that's probably a back injury. But Fernando's going to play on here, I think. Ashley Young ends up playing this out. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets played out of play. No, it won't be. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on those posters that the fans are holding up at Goodison Park. I don't understand that. You have every right to complain, but I think to call them corrupt is a bit far. I think what they should be doing is really complaining at the owners, because they're the ones who have put them in this mess. Here's Rashford. He's in on the left-hand side, and it's straight into Garnacho sliding in. He just hits the side netting in the end. That was a really good chance, that. Very, very good chance. Good ball into Rashford. Probably best bit of play that he's done here. It's a nice ball over to Garnacho. It's a bit pacey. One does wonder, does he play it? Could he have played it back to the middle rather than playing it across to Garnacho? I don't know. Here comes Amrabat, and I don't have a clue who this is. We're going to go with Amrabat's coming on for Mainu. That's fair enough. Same position. Should be fairly straightforward. Interesting that Mainu got a chance ahead of Amrabat. He's been pretty solid, Mainu. He has had a few good moments. And I think he's as good as anyone else in the club in that position. I don't know about Casemiro. I'm probably not as good as Casemiro, but Casemiro is a weird one because I don't think it's difficult. I don't really think that he's quite physically up to the Premier League anymore. I think last season he was. And I think that was the last time. Palestri's on. Okay, right, Palestri. Who's on for Garnacho, who goes off to a standing ovation after that goal that he scored. McNeil and Ashley Young come off. I don't understand the signing of Ashley Young as well, other than just giving them a bit of experience. He is not the player he used to be. He's the one who gave away the penalty. The amount of times I've watched Everton and he's been the reason why they've lost games, I just don't. I think against Arsenal, especially Ashley Young, as he's the player that I would target if I were a winger. I'd say, right, get on Ashley Young. He doesn't have the pace to keep up with you. He doesn't have the agility to defend against your dribbling. He will eventually tire out over time. He'll have to be taken off, and then they'll have to bring someone else on. It's a bit too easy to play against a player like that who has so many flaws. It's too easy. I think Arsenal in the end won the game against Everton, but it could have been by a lot more than they did end up winning. Amrabat and gives the ball away. It's his first introduction. That's given away by Calvert-Lewin that time. On the straight out, that was an interesting ball from Rashford. Both teams just giving the ball away a bit much here. Long ball in behind for McNeil. Oh no, for Danjuma. And Danjuma has not won that one. Now, I was saying earlier, historically, United have blown leads against Everton. I'd be very surprised if they blew this lead because they look a lot more in control. They look very much in control in this game. Here's Palestri. Is he going to beat him for pace? No, seems to be okay, although he's played it inside to... Oh, and here's Rashford. This has got to be 3. It is 3. That's a lovely... Oh, Martial, sorry. Martial in on goal. Scores the 3rd. That was really nice. Really, really nice football. And it's 3-0 and it's game over. It's what Man United deserve and also what Everton deserve. Everton have been shocking. Defensively, absolutely awful. And I think the fact that, to be honest, getting an early goal against this Everton team is how you beat them, because then they've got to come at you, and clearly they've had to in this second half, and they've just opened themselves up to a lot of attacks from United. And it's a nice ball into I think it's Fernandez. Yeah, I think Fernandez plays the ball in after Palestri gives the ball to Fernandez, plays the ball into Martial in a similar position actually to where he won the penalty as well. So that ball has been threatened for a while here, and now he's finally gotten in and scored. Well played, Martial. Got to take his chance with the Højlund in the team. I think Højlund will be disappointed he's injured, because today would have been a really good opportunity to score some goals. It feels weird saying that against Everton, but this Everton team, man, this Everton team is shocking. They really are. I think they're just not Premier. When you talk about Premier League standard, I just don't think they're a Premier League standard. You got teams like Leicester and Southampton. Maybe not Southampton, but Leicester and Leeds and Southampton. Okay, that's interesting. Wan-Bissaka on for Luke Shaw, so presumably Dalot's gone to left back, and Luke Shaw's off, so Wan-Bissaka right back. Yeah, so it's a tough game this for Everton, to be fair. But I think it's not like United have really had to turn up as well, to be fair. Yes, they've had that a moment at the beginning of the game, but apart from that, it's been pretty easy, I think, for United just to kind of open Everton up. And I think especially the second goal has just kind of killed the game. And then from there on, they've had a fair few chances and they have now gone 3-0 up. So, yeah, it's not good. Not good this for Everton. Here's a chance now. Mikalenko. Oh, it's off the crossbar, I think. Was that Mikalenko? Yeah, it was. Underlapping fullback again. Takes the shot with his left foot, curling away from the keeper. Hits the crossbar. Almost 3-1. I don't think it won't make a difference now, obviously. There's too little time left. We're 13 minutes away from the end of the game here. And now here's... Oh, I mean, we're back again. This is the thing I think with Everton, I'm not really sure. It was like their build-up play. It doesn't seem direct enough for the style of player that they've got. They can play a few kind of nice passes around, but they're not really going anywhere. And I think they don't have... We've got like McNeil on one side. Not even sure who they're playing on the other side now, to be fair, but it just seems very... They don't have those out-and-out wingers. When I think of like Andros Townsend's not... I don't think he played for Everton, but that's the kind of winger I'm talking about, really. It's like an out-and-out winger. Let's think, who else? That's really interesting. United have scored 3 goals from 3 shots on target. Clinical. Like, that's the thing. If you could be clinical with your chances, you win games. I think if all you need to do is make 3 shots on target to score 3 goals, you don't need to be a dominant force in the game. You just need to make those 3 chances and score. And that is a strength of United, to be fair. Like in this game, I think in past games you could accuse them of missing a lot of chances and not being able to score them. But I think really the more persistent criticism of this United team has been their inability to make those chances, because then they've been suffocated and lost games. That's a ball cross, which is not going anywhere. We're out for a throw. Yeah. And I think this Everton team, I mean, let's have a look at their fixtures going forward, because I don't really think there's much point in looking at this game really from here. They're not going to be going anywhere. So Everton's games going forward. Nottingham Forest away. Well, here's Everton have the ball outside the penalty area and almost lose it. And just about keep it. All right. Forest away, Newcastle at home, Chelsea at home, Burnley away, Spurs away, City at home. Flipping Nora. Wolves away, Villa at home. But goodness me, there is a lot of difficult games there. A lot of difficult games for Everton. I don't really see them winning many, if any, at all. Like, if they don't beat Forest, then they've got Newcastle, Chelsea, then Burnley is a game they can win. But then they've got Spurs, City. I'd say Wolves is difficult. And Villa, and Fulham, and Spurs, and City. and then they've got Palace they can definitely beat possibly at home. So that it's a it's really tough. It looks like Ghana just had a chance there. It looks really really tough for this Everton team. I've got to say I think they their recent results I think go against the grain of what Chimity's come on for Calvert-Lewin. Um, they go against the grain of what I was expecting from this season for Everton. I was expecting a very, very difficult season for them. And the only reason they would stay up is because they've got 3 teams worse than them. But now they've been given this 10-point deduction. Couple that with the fact that Luton have suddenly had a bit of a resurgence in form and they won this weekend. I think unless Everton can pull out some shock results, and based on this performance, I can't see how they do that. Because they're not, they're really not that good at all. Here's Rashford. He's attracted 3 players towards him, which caused a lot of space elsewhere. Here's Palestri. Plays it into Martial. Plays it back out to Fernandez. He thinks about the shot, but he just goes on the outside. Back into Fernandez again. There you go. Wan-Bissaka making the underlapping run. That underlapping run has been on all game as well, by the way, because the midfielders aren't tracking him. It's been on so much for United. You've got Doucouré, who's not really sitting that deep. He's not part of the defensive structure. He's more part of he's trying to mark out. And who's that down there? Palestri, I think. Yeah. He's trying to mark out the defensive midfielder of United. But I don't know. I just don't think. I think if you're going to do that, then you're Idrissa Gueye and I don't know who else plays in the middle for them, but they're not doing their job. Gueye should be marking that inside fullback. Or the defender should see that run coming and block it. It's not. It is difficult to defend against that, but I think you've got to work together as a team to do it. There are ways of doing it. We're up with the header. And I think, is that offside? Okay. Surprised, but there you go. Ugh. 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes left. The amount of space that Martial ends up being afforded there is ridiculous, by the way. For a player who, yes, he might not be threatening, and this actually might be the best performance by a striker for Man United in quite a long time as well, given how terrible things have been for Man United strikers. That's interesting. Hannibal's come on for Martial, so presumably Rashford's going up top, I would assume. We're just going to be seeing out the game here. It's very comfortable for Man United, this, of course, and it sets them up very nicely for the game against, is it Galatasaray they play? Here's Palestri. That's just about gets there. Who have Man United got next? There's Everton go on the break. It's a bit slow. Doesn't look like anything's going to happen here, I don't think. Back out to Gueye. Oh, that's a nice play. That Garner's. Well, I don't know who that was. It's the right back, I think. But he just doesn't. His touch doesn't quite work for him. Very unlucky. Let's have a look. What are Man United's fixtures? We've got Newcastle away next weekend as well, which is obviously a difficult game for them. Let's see, fixtures. Anytime you want to bring that up. Yeah, Newcastle away. Then Chelsea at home, which I think. Oh no, we can't. We're not doing a stream for that one. It would have been a nice one to do, but we're not going to. Everton on the attack again, but that's well played. Wan-Bissaka gets a goal kick. There's a Champions League game as well, I'm pretty sure. So we'll just have a look at this. Not often you see a 3-0 away win. Definitely not that often at all. Just having a look at the Man United fixtures they've got coming up. Galatasaray away. Yeah, I thought so. Galatasaray away on Wednesday, which I can't. That'll happen before the Arsenal game. They've got a 5:45 kickoff for some reason, so that's that definitely makes things. Well, it's a big game. They have to win that. They absolutely have to win, given the position they have in the group right now. In fact, I'll have a quick look at that. To be fair. Champions League group, which they are bottom of, so they need to win that game. Away at Galatasaray, which is not easy, but this is the best way to set themselves up for that. Oh dear, they've given the ball away to Hannibal there. Careful, he will run at you and potentially just break your leg. I'll never forget the game against Newcastle. Oh, here's Garner. He's got a lot of... Not Garner. Now it's a chance. It's blocked again. And it's a ball in behind for Rashford. He's got loads of space. Fernandes is in the middle. Well blocked. Almost blocked it into his own net, did to Tarkovsky, but yeah, the Everton defence has definitely not had their best day today. They've been pretty... Welcome, Draco. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I stopped watching after the first half. Unfortunately, I can't do that because I'm doing a watch-along. So it's not... if anything, the end of the first half, I was a bit encouraged by how Everton played. I was encouraged by how Everton played towards the end of the first half because they did make a few chances, and I thought, okay, if they stay in this game, they could definitely get it. But Man United's second goal came from a penalty, which Man United weren't. I don't know whether awful's necessarily justified. I think they were playing within themselves because they knew that Everton could be threatening. And I don't think Man United have quite got the firepower to kind of completely outgun a team like Everton without Everton just completely giving up. But having said that, the second goal for Man United came from a penalty, which was won by Martial, which was a bit contentious. It was controversial, but I agreed completely with the penalty because Martial gets the ball from a Fernandes pass, controls it first time and takes it past Ashley Young, and then Ashley Young does stick a foot out and make contact with Martial's foot. But from some angles, it looks like Martial is actually kicking Ashley Young and then goes down. So which is why the referee initially gives a yellow card and a dive against Martial. He thinks he's diving. Then he's asked to go and see the VAR, and he changes his decision. I think that he was just being quite what's the word? I think he was being quite cowardly in not giving the penalty because it's Goodison Park, because it's Everton, and he thinks I'm not going to give a penalty away to Everton, and I'm not going to give a penalty against Everton at Goodison Park, basically. And he's ended up forced into doing it purely because the evidence is irrefutable. Well, that's not necessarily true. I think it's a lot down to perspective. I think the way I explained it was that Martial's stride pattern doesn't change. I'll get to your comment in a second, Draco. Martial's stride pattern doesn't change when he's running through. That's a nice shot. Oh, good. Is that a save or is that just gone wide from Chimiti? I don't know. That it's gone. Yeah, it's just gone wide, just wide. Yeah, his stride pattern doesn't change, whereas Ashley Young's foot and his legs do move in the way of Martial. So that's the key difference there. And I think if you break it down like that, it's pretty clear it's a penalty. The problem is all the Everton players are complaining. Sean Dyche was irate. And I think it looks like from there on in, it looks like they've just lost belief in being able to win the game. And now, look, Hannibal's been hacked down by Ghana. And that's a yellow card. How did Mainu play in the second half? Pretty well. I've been impressed with Mainu today. I don't think he's been amazing. And I still don't think he's Casemiro quality yet. Nowhere near that. But he's good, tidy on the ball. I think he does lack a little bit of confidence because he's playing his way back into the game. Is Mainu going to get man of the match? He's actually, there you go, first successful dribbles, final third entries, 6. Pretty good. I thought he was a really good anchor man for everything else going on in the Man United team. It looks like they're trying to play McTominay as in a more kind of advanced, but Garnacho's obviously got man of the match. His goal was amazing. They're playing McTominay in this kind of advanced 8 role, which is a bit, I think that more suits his abilities. And then obviously Fernandes in the 10 role. But I still don't think, for just to clarify what I said there, I'm not saying that McTominay is good enough for Man United. Absolutely not. He shouldn't be in this team. Maguire shouldn't be in this team. Lindelof shouldn't be in this team. I'm not even sure that Onana should be in this team, really. I don't think he's that great. Rashford sometimes looks like he shouldn't be in this team. Like he looks so almost disinterested sometimes, which is shocking given his quality. And I'm not convinced, even though Martial won the penalty and scored the goal today, I don't think he necessarily fits the way that Ten Hag wants to play. So, but there you go. To me, he's better at centre mid, is Mainu. I probably agree with you, but I don't think today is a good way of, it's not a good time to judge that because Everton have not tested him. Not defensively. It's not like there's not been many times in this game where Everton have had sustained periods of possession and tested him positionally. So that is something. But then now who do you stop? Who do you play Mainu instead of? Do you put him instead of McTominay and then put someone else at CDM? I think right now Mainu is probably the best player you've got fit to play in that position. So yeah, that was the second goal, and then the third goal is just a simple ball in from simple through ball from Fernandes. Oh, here's a chance for Everton. How has that not gone in? And that volley is going to be cleared. Yeah, so it's a simple kind of through ball to Martial, who dinks it over the goalkeeper and scores. But by then, I think the game was up for Everton. I said when they went 2-0 down, the game was over. And to be honest, the fact that Everton haven't been able to change the game state since going 1-0 down, that's kind of terminal for them. I don't think they were ever going to get back in the game if they went 2-0 down. That's not a good cross. Probably better at the ball-winning role is Amrabat. Yeah, so I think maybe Amrabat, actually. I was surprised today that Amrabat didn't start. I thought he would be a pretty good option. Might be because of the international football. He's not quite fit or not quite come back to full fitness yet after that. But you could play Amrabat, Mainu and Fernandes. I don't think that Mainu... it's so difficult to tell again. The problem is this is Everton they're playing against. And I'd like to see him play against... It's like Newcastle in the next week. I'd like to see him play in that game or against Copenhagen in the week and see what happens. Because there's no doubt the kid's got quality. Yeah. And I remember, I think he have a few games early in the season, in pre-season, and he got injured. And there was a lot of hype around him. So, hey, if you've got hype around a young player, I can tell he was an Arsenal fan. that is something that's really worth investing in because it carries the team. You don't need everyone to be a youth player. I'm not saying get 11 youth players out there and build the hype, but if you can get for Arsenal, we've had Saka, we've had Martinelli, Smith Rowe. Technically, Saliba was a youth player, not actually youth, but he went out on loan for a few years, and he's now coming and see what. There's full time. It's 3-0 to United, straightforward in the end. Everton are shocking. I would be surprised if Everton don't go down this season, given how. And I think it just depends which promoted team can overhaul them, and that's going to be the big question. Everton will be disappointed about the penalty decision, but that's how things go sometimes. See him on the So it's his first few games. Yeah, want to see him in the opposition's third, see what quality he has there. Exactly. I think and today he's been in a very defensive role, setting up the plays, and there were moments where you could see them progressing through the thirds, and that was quite good. The only problem was, I think, the only problem is, again, this is Everton, and this particular game, I think everyone in the Man United team would have had a weight lifted off their shoulders by that first goal, because they would have suddenly thought, right, Everton are going to come at us now. They have to, because they're losing. And if that happens, we've got more space to play with. Wait and see. Newcastle are a much more difficult team to play against. So we'll see what happens with that one. Obviously, Newcastle beat Man United at Old Trafford earlier this season. So that'll be a good game. I won't be watching that game because I'll be busy. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. So but Galatasaray is next for Man United in a massive, massive game because they do not want to have to go and play Bayern Munich at Old Trafford to win. They need to beat Galatasaray and then hope for favours from elsewhere. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I've got to go because I'm going to be heading out. But yeah, it's been fun. The first half and a bit was fun watching. And thanks, Draco, for getting involved in the chat. And we will see you on Tuesday. We're going to be watching Newcastle play PSG at 8 o'clock British time. So that is it, though, for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then.